All right, let's dive right in. We've got our hands on an investor memo that is just brutally honest about the wild, chaotic world of AI investing in 2025. And let me tell you, the game has completely changed. We're going to walk through what's different, who's actually winning, and most importantly, why.
So, the memo kicks off with this incredible story. Picture this. It's 3 in the morning. An investor gets a call from a founder they backed. This founder has just been offered $300 million to sell his company, and he said no. Why on earth would he do that? Because he's not playing for a quick payday. He's playing to be the last one standing. That one moment just perfectly captures the insane ambition and the crushing pressure in AI right now.
And that brings us to the single biggest, most disruptive idea in this whole memo. You see, in pretty much every other tech boom, time was your best friend. It lets you build, a solid foundation, a deep moat. Well, not anymore. In AI, time is now your enemy. Think about it. OpenAI is slashing prices every 90 days, and open source models are catching up to the big guys every 6 months. Your killer tech advantage can literally vanish overnight. So, here's our game plan for breaking all this down. We'll start with how the rules have changed, focusing on this huge shift from models to actual applications. Then we'll look at the crazy parallel universes of China and Silicon Valley. From there, we'll get into a playbook for winning, followed by 10 bold predictions for 2026, and we'll wrap it all up with some tough love advice for founders. Okay, first up, what the memo calls the Great Schism. This is really about the end of an era. The age of, model worship, where everyone was obsessed with parameter counts and who was on top of the leaderboards, that's over. That game is completely finished. 60%. Just let that number sink in. It is staggering. 60% of the companies that were all in on building foundational models back in early 2024 have either vanished or they've had to make a massive, painful pivot just a year later. We're talking about a graveyard of companies. The ground just completely gave way beneath them. Now, if you want to know what's really going on, just follow the money. It tells the whole story. In 2024, the investment was mostly in the infrastructure, right? The shovels for the gold rush. But by 2025, that has totally flipped. 70% of the cash is now flooding into the applications, the actual gold miners, while the shovel makers are seeing their funding dry up. So here's the new gold standard. It's all about economic viability. It's a simple shift, but it's absolutely brutal. No one really cares how cool your tech is in a lab anymore. The only question that investors and customers are asking is, can your AI make my business money? The memo talks about a company whose AI helps salespeople close 3 more deals a day. That's what people pay for. Not AI, but profit. All right, let's shift gears a bit, because this new reality has created 2 very, very different worlds. The memo describes the AI scenes in China and Silicon Valley as basically parallel universes. They're operating with completely different clocks and completely different rulebooks. And I love this metaphor the author uses. Silicon Valley is building a cathedral. It's a grand project, driven by faith and a long-term vision, and it's meant to last for 100 years. China, on the other hand, is the bazaar. It's chaotic, it's loud, and it's all about survival. You have to prove you can make money in the next 6 months or you're dead. It's a knife fight and a phone booth. And this is what that difference looks like, in cold, hard numbers. A founder in China gets about 1/3 of the time to figure things out, compared to their counterpart in the valley. The memo is blunt about it. Trying to build a cathedral in the middle of the Chinese bazaar is just asking to get run over. So, okay, given this insane environment, how in the world do you win? Well, this next section is all about that, and it contrasts a massive success story with some pretty painful, expensive screw-ups. The absolute poster child for the memo's philosophy is ByteDance. The author's firm didn't just write one check and walk away. Nope, they invested 5 different times over 7 years. They kept doubling down, especially when the market was panicking. Why? Because they weren't betting on an app, they weren't betting on a trend, they were betting on a person. And this quote from the founder, Zhang Yiming, just nails it. All the way back in 2015, he wasn't talking about making a fun little video app. He was talking about building a brand new operating system for information itself. That's the kind of deep, foundational thinking they were betting on. So the lesson they learned from ByteDance is powerful. In a revolution like this, you don't chase the hot new thing. You don't just ride the wind. You have to find and back the incredibly rare founder who is capable of creating the wind. But of course, the best lessons often come from getting punched in the face. And the author gets really honest, asking this one painful question to frame the mistakes they made along the way. They boiled their misses down to three big ones. First, they looked at an AI search company with an old world mindset and passed. That company is now worth $20 billion. Ouch. Second, they thought an AI chip company's 12-month head start was a deep moat. A competitor erased it in 6 months. And third, they hesitated on taking an AI video tool global, thinking it was too soon. They watched from the sidelines as it completely exploded. So, armed with all that wisdom from wins and losses, the memo makes 10 bold predictions for 2026. And these aren't vague, fluffy predictions. They're specific. They're falsifiable, which means we can actually come back in a couple years and see if they were right or wrong. Let's just run through a few of the biggest ones. They predict ByteDance is going to join the absolute top tier with Google and OpenAI. They say agentic AI, AI that can actually do complex tasks for you, will see multiple companies cross 100 million in revenue. On-device AI chips will start to outship the big cloud chips. China's going to see its first AI company go from an idea to an IPO in under 2 years. A big model company like OpenAI or Anthropic will get bought, and fascinatingly, AI safety will become its own $10 billion plus market. All right, so for the final section, the memo turns all these insights into some direct, no-nonsense advice for founders. It's basically a list of pitfalls to avoid at all costs. First one. Your lab is not a business. An investor isn't funding your PhD research. They're funding a company. Your customers don't care about your academic papers. They care about you solving a painful problem that makes or saves them money. Period. Second piece of advice, build a real moat, not just a flimsy bridge. If your entire company is just a thin layer wrapped around someone else's API, you don't really have a business. You have a feature that's waiting to get copied or shut down. Real, lasting value comes from your own data, from getting deep into a customer's workflow. Next up, and this one is so important, don't try to go head-to-head with the giants. If your pitch is, we're going to be the next Google, you've already lost. The superpower of a startup is to find the niche, annoying problems that the big guys are too big and slow to even notice. That's your hunting ground. And finally, the memo delivers the bluntest piece of advice in the entire document. Money is the only real standard of truth. Getting anyone, to actually open their wallet and pay you for what you've built is the ultimate validation. Early revenue isn't just a nice to have, it's proof that you're not crazy. And that really brings us to the final critical question this memo forces us to ask ourselves. In this AI revolution, where things are moving at lightning speed, the winning move isn't just about picking the right technology. It's about deciding what game you're playing. Are you just building a temporary tool for today, or are you betting on the kind of people who are going to define and build the entire future?